What's up, Knicks fans? We are back again for another season with our friends at Fanatics Sportsbook. And of course, that means we're talking about FanCash. Now, most sports books, their rewards are just fluff, but FanCash is the ultimate sports currency. You see, when you bet with Fanatics Sportsbook, you get up to 10% fan cash back on your wagers, win or lose. And did I mention that they're giving away millions in fan cash this year, and you can use that fan cash on anything in the Fanatics universe? Go check it out for yourself and download the app today. Fanatics Sportsbook. Winning hits different here.
Welcome to the Knicks Film School Postgame Show presented by Fanatics Sportsbook. It is your boy, Jonathan Macri, and I am here with DJ Zullo, who I will bring up to say a few words in a moment, as we are here to talk about a Knicks loss, 121-111 to the Milwaukee Bucks. It is not their first loss of the season, but it is the first moment of the season where my favorite word in the English language is going to come into play. And that word, friends, is consternation. Because let me tell you, there will be some of it flowing freely after this loss. Look, it's going to be a long season. There's 82 games in this thing for a reason. And we said before the year started that the Mike Brown, the adjustment to the Mike Brown offense was going to take some time. Mike Brown was going to try very as much as possible to instill something very different from what the Knicks were used to doing last year and indeed in the last 5 years. And it was going to, again, involve a lot more players doing a lot more different kinds of things. It was going to be not as much, Jalen Brunson doing Jalen Brunson stuff. And the eventual goal of bringing in that offense, and we're going to talk about the defense tonight because the defense really is why the Knicks lost this game. The Knicks lost this game on both ends of the floor, but we're going to talk about both parts of where they lost it. But, the whole goal of the offensive revolution, let's just call it, is to make it so that, if there's a night where Jalen Brunson maybe doesn't have it or whatever, you don't want to overtax him. It's not all the Jalen Brunson show, and then his friends are along for the ride. And part of that, it's unlocking Mikal Bridges, and it's using more of his skill set. By the way, 6 assists for Mikal Bridges. Nice number there. It's using more of OG Anunoby, what he could do. But a big part of it is the utilization of Karl-Anthony Towns, who is now about to enter his second decade in the league. This is year 10 for Karl-Anthony Towns. And he is as decorated a non-Pantheon level player as you're going to find. Like, once you get past the guys who are the ones we are going to, tell our grandkids that we witness them someday. Carl's right at he's in that next level, or at least that's what his resume says. But this guy came into the league as what was supposed to be a revolutionary big man, someone who would change everything with what he was able to do on one side of the floor and then hold up his end of the bargain on defense. We don't have to talk about defense, but just focusing on the offense. Again, we're now in year 10 of this. Year 10 of the Karl-Anthony Towns experience. And the questions that I will field on this postgame tonight are the same questions that we have fielded about this player for every one of the previous 9 seasons. And I got news for you, folks. If he plays another 10 years after this one, we're going to be fielding those same questions for the next 10 years after that. Because sometimes a player is what he is. And Karl-Anthony Towns, as much as any player in basketball, for better and for worse, is what he is. You could bring in Tom Thibodeau. You could bring in Mike Brown. You could bring in Red Holzman. You could bring in Red Auerbach. Any other Reds I'm forgetting? I don't think so. It ain't going to make a damn difference. Because at some point, the player's got to hold up his end of the bargain. And a lot of people had a lot of issues with me this summer when I said some things about Cat coming off the last playoff performance. I heard it all, took it all in. Happy to do so because I said what I said with conviction. And when I watch games like tonight, I am reminded of why I felt that way coming off of what was a very successful postseason for the team and at times for Karl-Anthony Towns individually. And yet why, again and again and again, do I watch this player and ask myself, boy, Macri, why do you have so little confidence that they're ever going to be able to scale the mountaintop with that dude as their second best player? And nights like tonight reinforce my belief. So that's where I'm starting right now, Deej. But I'm going to flip it to you because there's a lot more nuance to this game than just Cat. But it feels to me disingenuous to start anywhere else.
I think you have to start with Cat. And I think the tact I'll take is maybe slightly different. Did I think he played a good game? No. Was he at times bad? Yes. Did Mike Brown do a great job of making life easier for him? No, he did not. And I think that came about in two, I think, distinct ways. One, when they traded for Karl-Anthony Towns and then brought in Mike Brown, the theory behind that to me was like, you now have a center and a coach that should be a very complementary pairing in the sense that Mike Brown came from Sacramento. He had a big in Domantas Sabonis that he played small ball five with a lot and utilized his skill set, I think, very well. And part of that was allowing him space to operate in the middle of the floor. To me, when your offense is Karl-Anthony Towns post-ups against Kyle Kuzma, something has gone wrong. And we could sit here and say, yeah, Karl-Anthony Towns should be able to put Kyle Kuzma in the basket like prime Shaquille O'Neal and score bucket after bucket. And I hear that argument. But as you've pointed out, John, many times, the player is the player. We know that that is not how Karl-Anthony Towns, A, wants to play, and B, can consistently be effective in playing that style. Why not give Karl-Anthony Towns an opportunity with a true five-out look and let him have the space that you afforded Domantas Sabonis in your time in Sacramento? Why did you pair him, to harken back even to last season and what we saw when the offense got very stodgy and stale? Why did you pair him so much tonight with Josh Hart, who, listen, I might be at the mountaintop of Josh Hart defenders, but right now the player that we're getting is just very, very flawed. More flawed than his normal, because right now he has no confidence that he can shoot the ball effectively. You're not getting the other offensive intangibles as a passer or a transition spark plug. So all you're getting is Josh Hart in the half court, making life very easy for the Milwaukee Bucks when they want to send help. As we saw last year, the center guarded Josh Hart when he was on the floor. So when you have Kuzma guarding Towns and you want to send help, you have opportunities to do so because you are not worried about Josh Hart beating you from the three-point line. Mike Brown, his decision to, in terms of playbook, in terms of play calling, and then also the rotation and the pairing with Hart and Towns was a big factor tonight. Having said all of that, Towns just needs to figure out a way. And that's where I think your biggest criticism lies, is that you're not going to be given the pristine five-out alignment that you can maybe flourish in all the time, and that it's going to be down and dirty. And where there were times in the playoffs last year where he was able to be effective in that way. But I don't think you can consistently expect Karl-Anthony Towns to be a really true co-star number 2 option if that is the sort of offense that you're expecting him to be good at. And that is, at one sense, a critique of Karl-Anthony Towns, but also a critique of the head coach, who still, to his credit, is trying to figure out how to generate offense, especially when Jalen Brunson is not on the floor. Very much a work in progress, as a lot of this is going to be. But there was a lot of things wrong with how Karl-Anthony Towns played. I just don't think it was all on him. And I think the coach needs to look himself in the mirror and say, am I at this juncture putting my second best player in the best opportunities to be his best? And I think that is one of the big takeaways after this one for me.
And it's a great call. And I was going to get to Hart next. I'll talk a little bit about Hart right now. You said it before, the Hart Towns pairing played. It ended up, the final number was 22 minutes and 8 seconds. So that means, excuse me. Sorry. No, that's Brunson and Towns. Sorry. Hart and Towns played 16 minutes and 7 seconds, 16 minutes, 7 seconds. So essentially for 16 minutes, Karl-Anthony Towns played with Josh Hart. That pairing was a minus 14. In the nearly 20 minutes that Karl-Anthony Towns played without Josh Hart, he was a plus 16. Now, big reason for that is Karl-Anthony Towns was on the floor for much of the Knicks' explosive second quarter, in which they outscored the Bucks 45-32. He was great. All of the Knicks were great during that second quarter. The offense was flowing. You said it towards the end of our playback watch along. Give some credit to the Bucks, who were kind of laying down and dying in the second quarter defensively. They came out in the third quarter. They picked up their intensity. They came out and won this game just as much as the Knicks lost it through stuff they did on the court or decisions that the coach made on the sidelines. So, yeah, I completely agree with you on Josh Hart. The version of Josh Hart that we are getting right now, and Josh Hart, again, we love Josh Hart, Knicks Film School. Always going to be big fans of what Josh Hart brings to the table. He has a lifetime pass from me just based on the fact that he goes out there and he tries to be a gamer. He's not helping them right now. And if you are looking at the box score and you see that Josh Hart took 5 shots and 4 of those shots were threes, and I couldn't believe it when he actually made one of them. It's like a Christmas miracle. That would seem to be playing right into the Bucks' hands. And, again, just to put a finer point on it, Josh Hart minus 18 in the game in 26 minutes. That number does not feel like a misnomer. It does not feel like an inaccurate representation of how Hart played. And yet the not to give Brown a pass, but to point out that with the Knicks down, Mitchell Robinson, the Knicks down, Deuce McBride still out for personal reasons. We hope everything is fine. Then he'll be back hopefully on Friday. And then tonight, a guy who's been getting a lot of shit so far in the first 3 games, Gershon Yabusele, out with a knee issue. So that's 3 of what were supposed to be your top 9 are out. And so you are left with the guys who started, and he started Landry Shamet tonight over Josh Hart. So we should note that for as much as we may have some misgivings, he could have very well started Hart, and he didn't. He started Landry Shamet, which I think we all agree was the right decision. And Shamet responded going 4 of 9 from 3. You wonder whether Shamet should have been on the floor for the Brown tried to rectify this late by bringing in Shamet for Hart. It was too little too late. But in any case, after the starting 5, you had Hart, who played 26 minutes. You had Tyler Kolek, who started with a flurry, who made it 3 when he first came in, and he ended with a flurry with drew a foul, and he had a nice bucket. In between, it was fine, but whatever. Tyler Kolek, those are your backup point guard minutes. You're not like Jalen Brunson played 34. Tyler Kolek played 11. Like, it's fine. Clarkson played 17 minutes. He made 4 or 7 shots. He was part of that second, the run at the top of the second quarter. I would not say that Clarkson was great tonight. He was fine. And then after that, we're talking Ariel Hukporti. And Ariel Hukporti, to me, looked a little overmatched tonight. Just like he looked a little overmatched against the Miami Heat. And then you remember, he was the 58th pick in the draft a year ago. Mm-hmm. So should we be shocked? I know he's an older player. I know we're all high on Hukporti's potential, the whole thing. And that's it. That's your bench. So, you lose 3 rotation players. Like, this is what you're going to be looking at. Yes, Mohamed Diawara got him a couple of seconds of time. Good for him. So
yeah, no, that's a fair response, and maybe it would have been too hard to sort of concoct the minutes to prevent Hart and Cat from sharing the floor for 16 minutes. Could you have figured out a way to make that 8 minutes and cut that in half?
Maybe
I could have figured it out, but then you are giving up size and rebound. I mean, I know there's a lot of things that go into it, and they are down 3. A lot of rotation guys, and the Bucks shot. Oh, go ahead, finish your thought.
No, I was going to say, DJ, because if the other part of it, if you're not playing Hart with Cat, you're playing Hart with Hukporti, and then you're really jamming yourself up.
But here, you can play Brunson with Hukporti and Hart. I feel more confident in a weird way that Brunson could figure out a way to generate offense versus Cat with Hart.
But then that that's a right back around to the fact that, okay, should those be words coming out of your mouth about an All-NBA player, that we need to put Jalen Brunson, we need to stick him with the 2 non-spacers, because for this guy who is making $57 million a year, and again, All-NBA player, has the resume, the whole thing, but we need to go out of our way to accommodate him with all of this spacing. That doesn't seem fair and equitable, and to the other part of it, though, I do agree with you. The post-up stuff where the Hart's in the game, Hart's not in the game, that's not ideal. Why maybe aren't we seeing more face-up stuff? And again, that's where I kind of lean on the thing I keep saying, which is like, why is it 10 years worth of asking questions about why no coach could figure out how to fully utilize this guy? Is it maybe time to look at something else?
I feel like we know the answers. And listen, I don't know if these were a Cat calling his own number, and
it wouldn't be the first time.
Wouldn't be the first time, but were these design play calls to get him post up against Kuzma, which, listen, I don't think is an advantage for the Knicks. I don't think Kuzma is a great defender, but we talked about this on the watch along. Like Cat, when you just ask him to do one thing and defend his man, he could do a pretty good job, especially guarding up against centers. He's really good at that. And Towns, although he made one good pass out of a double team, generally has not been great finding the outlet and finding the cracks of the defense when they send doubles. When he's posting up, he's just much better when he's facing. Now, even when he's facing, it doesn't come without downsides and risks. He gets a lot of offensive fouls on his drives. His drives this year, I think, they're always a little haphazard, but I feel like they've been a little more haphazard. Like, he had one drive against
Cat.
Even for Cat, he had one drive against Kuzma going to his left, finishing back to his right. A shot he can make, but it's not a high percentage shot. And it's part of the reason why he hasn't shot 50% from the field yet in a single game this year. It's not only the lineup configurations, not only the coach. He's not making shots. And maybe the injury is another factor here that we should consider, that he's technically injured. He's got what he called a grade 2 quad strain, which is, players usually miss time with that. So maybe that's another piece to this.
Yeah. Awesome. That might be it. I will just point out James Edwards III just sent out a tweet. Excuse me. Mike Brown said he thought the first half offense was beautiful. The defense was solid. That the ball didn't move in the second half. Said the first half offense started with Cat making plays out of double teams. I watched this game with you. There were a few of such plays, I guess. Did you feel like the first half offense started with Cat making plays out of double teams?
No, I feel like it started with Brunson sort of
Brunson being Brunson.
Calling his number a little bit in the first quarter. And in the second quarter, these games are hard the first watch. Maybe there was some of that. It didn't feel like that was the big takeaway for me.
It was not the big takeaway for me. Maybe we're two idiots. Or maybe this is Mike Brown knowing that he has a player right now that is struggling above the neck as much as he is below it.
Yeah.
And trying to throw him a bone.
Well, that's the other part of that, right? Mentally, whereas Towns, which we all saw the press conference. It was before opening night, right? It was the last practice before.
Yep.
And we all sort of wondered about the body language and the way he, not only what he said, but how he said it. I think there's something to that. And
if I could go a step further.
Yeah.
Who were they playing tonight?
Yeah. Well, there you go. The guy that he was rumored to be potentially traded for, potentially.
I mean, look, Ian Begley came on the show, and I flat out asked Ian. I'm like, I mean, I know you're not going to be able to give me an answer, but can you tell me, like,
did they make a real offer?
Yeah, and he's like, or I asked him to name. I said name names, and he's like, I don't have it firm enough, but like, everybody could go look at the cap sheet. It's like, what do you think?
Yeah, it's so complex. Like I feel like I can write an essay on this game of like what went wrong from the injury, from where he is mentally, from the play calling, the lineups, just the lack of shot making, which typically has been his calling card. And there's just a lot that he's dealing with, I'm sure. And didn't get off to a great start last year. So maybe there's a slow start aspect to this right now.
That's fair. I mean, I had a couple rough ones, but so a couple other things that will emerge big picture wise, and I already kept you longer than I said I was going to keep you, so I don't want to keep you for too much longer.
I'm good.
The conversation about are the Knicks taking too many threes I don't know if it will pick up steam after this game. I will say they did shoot 32.5% from three. They made 8 threes in the second quarter of this game. They made 5 threes the rest of the game. Once again, I thought they got good looks for the most part. Were there a couple that weren't great looks? Yeah, there were a couple that weren't great, but for the most part, I think they're getting good looks. They're still not going down. 40 threes, 13 for 40. 40 threes is fine. I don't think anybody is going to complain about that.
Only 11 from the corner, which is lower than what their frequency has been this year. So maybe that's, if you're going to critique one thing, the vast majority of shots they were taking were of the tougher ilk.
Yeah, and I'm sure the Bucks were keyed in on that. Like, hey, don't give the Knicks open corner threes. So that's something we should mention. The biggest story from the game is really probably Jalen Brunson getting hurt. We hope that he is not going to have any lingering effects. Obviously, came back in the game, finished the game. I mean, it was I won't go so far as to say a spectacular Brunson game. 36 points on 25 shots. We have gotten so spoiled with this player that's like, okay, that's a fine game. We should note when the offensive issues started in the third quarter, there were some Brunson shots that were like, wow, how did that not go down? And that's really, and then eventually he left the game and things got really bad on the offensive end. I said at the top, like they lost it on defense. The reason I said that, Deej, and we kind of pointed out at the time, when they were going gangbusters all world offense in the second quarter, I think because they were scoring at will, they let down their guard on the other end. And it was very obvious they let down their guard on the other end. The last like 3-4 minutes of the first half, and the Bucks started putting the ball in the basket during that time. And I said it to you. I said, like, yeah, it's an 18-point turnaround. That's great. Or whatever it was, a 20-something point. Like, it should have been a 30-point turnaround. Like, they should have gone up by 20.
There was a Torian Prince open 3. There was a Coffee open 3. Just like breakdowns, like practice shot type stuff that they gave up within that second quarter. That is a big piece of it. The defense overall, I'm kind of okay with where they stand right now. I did just look. The Bucks shot 20 of 21 at the rim in this one.
Is that good?
It's pretty good. It'd be nice to have your potential, defensive all defense center back for one of these games to help protect the basket.
Wait, Deej, did you not? You didn't get the.
I didn't get the memo. Is there a memo? Is there a new one?
There is. It is. They are still managing his workload, which is currently at 0. So, as I understand it, if you are at 0, the only way to maintain something at 0 is to keep it at 0, which I think is the plan moving forward. And again, this has all been calculated. Nothing to see here.
I mean, it's not like he played any preseason games. Not like he played a lot in that first preseason game. I mean, clearly the plan was to manage the minutes at 0 from the jump.
Clearly the plan was go out and play 18 first half minutes in the first preseason game. Go out and play whatever. I forget how many minutes it was in the second preseason game. Decent number of minutes.
Yeah.
And then go out there and play most of the first half in the third preseason game. And then go hibernate like a bear until April. That is the workload management plan.
Yeah. And they could, I mean, he is not a Giannis stopper, but he is a obvious deterrent at the rim. Yeah. The 20 of 21 is an insane percentage, and the Knicks were 12 of 24 on their end. So if you're going to chalk the game up to anything, the rim efficiency is a big area that the Knicks hemorrhaged a lot of points. And
it's just utterly wild that the team that we saw go out there and score like it was an open run ended up shooting 42.4% from the field in this game and 32.5% from 3.
Yeah. And look, I think I said this on the watch long as well. It's like we saw this offense last year when teams really dug in and were physical. And, the microcosm of that is the Detroit series. You could take the Knicks out of their comfort zone.
Yeah.
The third quarter felt like that was the biggest takeaway for me, is that the Bucks came out with an edge and intensity that the Knicks offensively could not generate quality looks out of. We've talked about the Towns piece, and then Mike Brown maybe not doing the best job of getting him quality opportunities, possessions, but the Bucks deserve that credit, and obviously Giannis with the two-way performance in that second half was elite. So a lot of, again, we talking about process and building towards May and June, but there are certain questions that have come up in this season that were questions last year. And that's the only part that I feel is a little bit disconcerting, is that I think we still have some of those same questions, and you would have hoped that at this point you'd have some more confidence that we're going to get some answers on those one way or the other.
Before we get to that, we'll end with that point. But before we do, we haven't talked about either of New York's wings. OG Anunoby, not without fault in this game, 3 of 11 from the field, 1 of 6 from 3. A couple of good looks didn't go down, a couple of not so great looks again. But 6 3-pointers, I think, is fine for him. I'm going to give him a little bit more of a pass because he had to guard the current MVP of the league through 4 games for pretty much the entire night. And again, I know what Giannis did. You can't do a much better job than OG Anunoby did for the majority of the night. I thought OG Anunoby was pretty good defensively. And Mikal Bridges, again, no one's going to care about it. No one's going to talk about it. Mikal Bridges was outstanding tonight. Capital O, outstanding. 24 points, 8 of 16 from the field. Got to the line, is being now aggressive at the rim. Mikal Bridges is being aggressive at the rim. 5 for 5 from the free throw line. 11 rebounds, talking about physicality. 6 assists. This is one of the better games that Mikal Bridges that we've seen him play. It was awesome. And again, no one's going to care about it because we're dealing with all this other nonsense. Again, my fault. It's a half an hour in. Is the first time I'm saying his name. That's my bad.
Yeah, I'm glad you said it. And he also had to guard AJ Green, who is just a really tough cover in this league. I think he's an underrated player, runs off a ton of screens. He's a screener in a lot of those actions. So held him, in check for the most part. Good two-way performance by Bridges. I think he continues to just look very comfortable in this offense and looks, for the most part, better than he did on the defensive end compared to last year. So nice performance by him. And I agree that OG deserves a pass on the offensive end with what he had to do on defense.
Yeah. But just to finish this off, and then I'm going to send you on your way.
Yeah.
This goes back to what I started with.
Mm-hmm.
We all knew it was going to be a process. We all knew it was going to take time. We all knew this was not going to happen overnight. That being said, famous last words. I think you want to have a sense that the bricks that you're laying down, I'm not talking about missed shot bricks. I'm talking about the bricks that you're laying down of like whatever like this new foundation is going to be, are like you could get a sense of what it's eventually going to become.
Mm-hmm.
And I think the part about tonight, and yeah, we all overreacting about a game we're in October. It's not Halloween yet, let alone Christmas. But I think what was concerning about tonight is it was like, okay, we all said it over the summer, and you said it very eloquently before. If unlocking Karl-Anthony Towns was not job description number one for Mike Brown, it couldn't have been far behind job description number one. Maybe job description number one was like, pick up your phone when the front office calls you.
Right.
If you see a front office member walking your direction in the hallway, don't immediately turn and walk the other direction, and like leave the building. That's job description number one. Job description number two, unlock Karl-Anthony Towns. And so I think you wanted to see, and did we see some stuff in preseason? Yeah, we absolutely saw some stuff in preseason, just as we've seen some stuff here in the regular season. That's been encouraging. So then you have to ask yourself the next question. It's like, all right, well, if we've already kind of seen the vision of what it is and what it maybe wants to be, why didn't we see it at all tonight? And again, you could turn to what you said, and it was like, well, they got to trade Josh Hart. They got to get Josh Hart off this team. You can't play Josh Hart and Karl-Anthony Towns together. All right, like, listen.
Well, I didn't say trade Josh Hart.
No. I'm not saying you said that, but like, there were people. Trust me, there were people who were already wanting to trade.
Oh,
Josh
I'm watching the chat. Yeah, that's happening.
And look, Josh Hart needs to get right, and if Josh Hart doesn't get right, like this, I'll just say it. If Josh Hart doesn't get right, this team's not winning anything. Like, they were conceived of with Josh Hart playing an important role, and when Josh Hart is right physically, he will play an important role. He's not right physically right now. But I still think it's bigger than that. It's bigger than again. We should not be sitting here about saying words about the all NBA level player and being like, well, he, 2 for 11, 2 for 12, whatever. He couldn't do anything against Kyle Kuzma. Yeah, but he had Josh Hart on the floor with him. So, I mean, really, can you blame him? No, that cannot be it. That cannot be it. It has to be more to it than that. So where are we going from here? What's the plan? How are we going to get Karl-Anthony Towns to the point where, because look, they play like this was a playoff level game, and it's not going to cut it. And we saw it too often already. And I wish I knew that there was going to be some plan in place to at least have a consistent approach. Everybody has bad nights. Everybody has nights where they miss shots. But if there are nights where it's like, why does this feel like pulling teeth? And this guy is so talented. Those are the nights that I think everybody thought that with the Brown hire, we would avoid more of those nights. And there's talking about one here in the fourth game of the season.
Yeah. And then even stepping back, it's like further than how you're referring to it. Like, what are we getting with Karl-Anthony Towns and Jalen Brunson interacting and making each other better? It was nothing tonight. And you saw a concerted effort to start the Miami game for those two to be involved in almost every possession with their slot to slot weave action, with Towns receiving the handoff and generating all those threes, and Brunson playing off that and faking the DHO and getting downhill. And offense did not generate a ton of results out of that, but you saw good shots out of it. And it felt like that was, I thought it would carry over into this one. And again, this is maybe the experimentation that Mike Brown is now
Maybe.
involved in, trying to figure out, all right, let's give it each one of these little nooks and crannies and ideas and figure out what makes the most sense. But I think you want to see more Towns and Brunson interacting, playing off each other, even in off-ball action, which you saw in the preseason and early on, where you have Brunson screening for Cat and off-ball, and having those two create gravity to the point where it creates reactions, and then you can play off that. You just didn't see a lot of it in this one, and then makes it harder when you have a forward on Karl-Anthony Towns. It just will always do, because you can always switch the Brunson Cat pick and roll, is something we've always talked about. It doesn't mean you still can't run it.
And guess what? If Josh Hart moves to Timbuktu tomorrow and never plays another game, got news for everybody. You're still getting forwards on Cat for as long as he's on this team. Why, if you're an NBA team, would you do anything other than that? What evidence do you have that it will materially hurt you?
Well, it would just, that's the point. And the counter to that would be, at least Anunoby, Bridges, you can do a better job of weaponizing that. But you could
weaponize the center on those other players.
Right.
Yeah. Okay.
Yes. But still, you're still not getting the what I was referring to as the 2-man synergy between your two best players, which the Knicks haven't had consistently. And that's at one point disappointing, but also it just makes sense if you're an opposing defense, that's what you're trying to take away. So it's still a work in progress for sure, but
it is.
We're still working through it.
Deej, thank you for working through with me here at the top of the post game.
Sure.
I kept you for a while, but I do appreciate it because again, it's early in the season, but it's never too early to start raising some red flags. And I needed you here by my side as we did that. Together.
Well, I appreciate it. Yeah. And if anyone is listening or watching and wants more Knicks film stuff, I'll have some film breakdowns on this one over the next day or two. And my colleague, Benji Ritholtz, will have his great books out on this one. So we'll continue to dissect this one and move on to the next one. So check us out over at the KFS Patreon if you want more Knicks coverage that you won't get anywhere else.
There you go. Giddy up.
All
Thank
right.
you, Deej. Appreciate you, man.
Take care.
All right. And now it's just me. You're stuck with me. Sorry. Okay. Before we move on, let us take a quick look at our betting and sweating picks tonight. So this parlay, boy, did this parlay have a lot of traction. There was a lot of excitement within the betting and sweating chat coming into this game about our parlay from, of course, presented by our presenting sponsor, Fanatics Sportsbook. So, and you could check back, by the way, on every game day to tell the betting and sweating picks. So 3 picks: Mensah, Towns, 13 or more rebounds. Bad beat. He got 12. So that's a tough one. I'm going to skip the middle one. Giannis Antetokounmpo, at least one made 3. That was from Sean with a W. I think Andrew Claudio may have bet his mortgage on Giannis Antetokounmpo making a 3 tonight. Did not work out for any of those fine folks. So that's a loss. However, one bet came through, and that was Mikal Bridges. 3 or more made 3s. He made exactly that number. And that correct bet is courtesy of my guy, Jeff J. Not only does he do great work here at Knicks Film School, but he is one of my co-hosts with NBA Takedown. And today is his birthday. So I would just like to wish him a very happy birthday. Congratulations on hitting your bet. Well, Mensah and Sean both fell short. I hope you're doing something fun tonight. And again, shout out to our friends at Fanatics Sportsbook. You could go on the Fanatics Sportsbook app and find our betting and sweating picks ahead of every Knicks game. I usually you want to follow the advice. Today we only got 1 out of 3, but usually we've been doing better than that. So yeah, All right. Shout out to Fanatics. Okay. I think my voice is going to be okay for all the super chats that we have in store. Got Mark on the ones and twos. Okay. Let's get it started. Here we go. Vaz Callow. Hopefully I'm proven wrong in the next 12 minutes, but Cat has been dreadful the last 2 games. He needs to figure it out and stop crying. Yeah. We talked all about, me and DJ in the monologue, about, the on-court stuff and the stuff that we saw, like the execution or lack thereof. That's frustrating enough. And if that's all there was, okay. But it's the extracurricular that is what at times sends me to the bad place with this player. And it happened with the guy he was traded for, Julius Randle. And it happens with him because it can't just be about, like, you cannot let what is going on one end of the court impact the rest of your game. And there were at least 3 instances where me and DJ were watching this game and playback, and we said it in the moment. In the moment. Cat's hands down. What happens? Ball swings over to the guy Cat's guarding. 3-pointer goes up. 3-pointer goes in. Why? Because there's not a hand in his face. Can't have that happen. You can't let it translate into silly fouls and offensive fouls, which that happens way too often. And I have deeper suspicions than that. I have suspicions about whether a lot of the stuff that we see from Cat, where it's like, man, that's not great offense. Why are you doing that stuff? I have I wonder, is that really the game plan, or is he going rogue? Okay. Thanks, Vaz. Mark's telling me to pace myself with the Cat stuff because we got a lot more coming. Okay. JDM 1985. When Cat is bad, he's really bad. Gross back-to-back games. I wish I could. Here, you know what? Here's my strategy, Mark. I'm going to throw Cat a bone every now and then. Yes, he was bad on a lot of fronts tonight. He got some big rebounds. He did get some massive rebounds. I thought he had some nice defensive possessions. I thought his one-on-one defense on, I think it was Kuzma, in the fourth quarter, what felt like a big possession at the time, didn't turn out to be a big possession, was good. So, like, I don't think he completely loses engagement, but he absolutely lets it impact him. Thanks, JDM. Riyadh Raheem, what's going on, Riyadh? Who are we fooling thinking we could realistically depend on players like Cat and Hart? Well, you're talking about 2 very different players there. Because Josh Hart is a guy who, Josh Hart won them a playoff series 2 years ago against Philadelphia 76ers and has had just massive, massive, massive impact moments for this team when he is healthy and correct. He is not healthy or correct right now. And I think over the last, from January on last year, I think he was healthy. I think how teams were guarding him got in his head, and I don't think he ever fully recovered. So the Josh Hart that, like, I know and love, the guy that was certainly here his first year, the guy who was part of that 23-24 team that I feel like I'm going to, on my deathbed, I'm going to be like, if somebody asks me what was your favorite Knicks team, I'm going to be like 23-24 team. I want that guy back. As far as Cat, look, Cat's had some huge moments in Knick uniform. Massive. Ginormous. When there is this level of a lack of consistency with an all NBA guy making what he's making, it makes it hard. It makes it hard to foresee a world where, again, he's a part of a team that wins 4 playoff series. Thanks, Riyadh. Frank Miranda. What's up, Mac? It's your boy Frank from Patreon. I want to be crystal clear. We are, I am assuming you forgot the word not here, so I'm going to add it in for you. We are not winning anything with Cat as our number 2. I'm sorry. He's a guy more concerned with stats and accolades than winning. I don't know that I would say that. I think Cat has always had a very clear idea of who he is and how he is best utilized on a basketball court. And I think that image has always been the thing that is the motivating factor behind his actions on the court, as opposed to perhaps what certain, coaches have asked him to do. And like sacrifice comes in many forms. And the toughest sacrifice, I think, for a player of Cat's caliber, and God knows he's as talented as anyone, is to play in a way that that in your heart of hearts, you don't believe is the way that you should be playing. So I think a lot of it comes from that, if I was to wager a guess. Thank you, Frank. JDM with another one. Cat and OG combined 5 for 23. Again, one of those guys was guarding Giannis Antetokounmpo all night. One of those guys was not. So if I'm going to give a pass to one, that said, OG, rough offensive game. They needed him to do better tonight, and he did not. 5 assists, though, for OG. Give him some credit there. Thanks, JDM. You don't know. You don't know. I'm calling the FBI on Cat. I think they got their hands full right now, but it's certainly worth a phone call. What are you going to report? Think of something. Appreciate you. You don't know. Deadwords. Oh boy. This is coming. Deadwords 604. Frustrating Cat game. I'll give credit to the Milwaukee defense, but Cat kept forcing it up, especially in the third, and the offense couldn't get into any rhythm. Yeah, and again, the tough part. I want to try to be fair. I know, try to be fair. The holy hell I unleashed on Cat to start this show. Trying to be fair, really? Are you, Macri? Maybe try a little harder. Just like I said, you can't look at Cat and be like, oh, he has Josh Hart on the floor with him. He can't do anything. By the same token, you can't look at how putrid their offense was in the second half. And really, it was the whole second half. They scored 40 points in the second half. That's an abomination. They scored less points in the second half than they did in the second quarter, just to put a finer point on it. You can't look at the 40 points in the second half and be like, that's all on Cat. It's not. And he's not the only reason they weren't in a rhythm. Part of the reason why they were going to him with those post-ups was because nothing was working. Now, again, were there some shots in there that were missed shots and that usually go down? Yeah, especially with Brunson in the game. Brunson missed some shots he usually makes in the third quarter. When Brunson went out of the game, it felt like they stopped being able to generate any of those open looks. So at that point, when the offense was like, all right, we can't generate open threes if Brunson's not in the game, and it felt like they were not, then it was like, all right, well, what are we going to do? Well, we got this guy here. Let's see what he could do. And in that moment, the best thing that he did or tried to do was post up Kyle Kuzma. How much of that goes on him? How much of that goes on Mike Brown? How much of that goes on Josh Hart? That's up to you. Thanks, Deadwood 604. Anthony 60, what's going on? Anthony. Giannis used tonight as a statement with all the rumors. Meanwhile, one of the stranger energy games for Cat. Real strange. there was nothing about tonight that was strange for me watching him. But again, I am apparently a cat hater, so my opinion, I guess, I don't know, should be because I don't know. Consider that from the tip, very mentally out of it. Yeah, I really looking back at that press conference where Cat was like, I don't know, when they asked him, what's your role in this offense? And he's like, I don't know. Boy, I wonder if we're going to be talking about that a lot more moving forward. We'll see. As for Giannis, here's the thing I'll say about Giannis. I think he's extremely honest. And I think, I focused certainly on when he got up there in the press conference before the season and was like, yeah, we'll see what's going on in 6 or 7 months, because I was like, he's telling you, like, he might want out. But I also completely believe everything else, which is like I'm all in for us, like, for this season. And I believe in this team, and I think we could do really special things. I believe he believes that. I believe he believes that if he gives it his all, like, who the hell knows where this team could go? And why the hell shouldn't he? He is the best player in the Eastern Conference, and it's not particularly close. And that is no disrespect to Jalen Brunson. Jalen Brunson is a brilliant offensive basketball player. You could argue that Jalen Brunson is even a more impactful offensive basketball player than Giannis at this point in their respective careers, because Giannis can't shoot. But when you factor in the defense and the impact on that end of the court, I mean, it's not really a conversation. So why wouldn't he believe that, and yeah, I agree. This was absolutely a statement. And that dude's fucking awesome, which is why I reacted the way I did when the trade story came out. And I know there were other people who reacted like a different way, and that's their right. I know what that dude is, and I know exactly what he's going to bring to any decent team that he's on, let alone a very good team. So, I respect all y'all with the, we don't need him. Ain't never heard those words come out of my mouth, and you never will. Next up. Thanks, Anthony. Kevin Danishevsky, what's going on, Kev? It's crazy that we have both the superstar. That is the most frustrating considering his God-given gifts, and the superstar that does the most with his. Yeah. And yes, this is like Leon wanted him. I'm not putting it all on Leon. Like, the whole front office wanted him. Like, they wanted him. We know the reports that came out after the trade. They've been eyeing him for years. Yeah, it probably happened the way it happened when it happened, because they knew they weren't going to have a center for the entire season. But they wanted him, and they thought they could make it work here. And this is just, it's going to be a fascinating season, because there is, like, well, whatever. We'll talk about the offseason when we talk about the offseason. But this is a big season for the Knicks, a big season for Karl-Anthony Towns. I don't think that's an overstatement. Thanks, Kev. Drew P. I can't take this course seriously without Mitch. Well, look, you heard me say in the preseason multiple times, in training camp multiple times, I thought there was an argument that Mitchell Robinson was the second most important player on this team. I said, like, I know what Mitch is going to bring. Is Mitch perfect? God, no. But I know exactly what that dude is going to bring every night. I also know his limitations. And there is certainly a longer conversation to be had. DJ's had it, Benji's had it, we've all had it, about can you overcome those limitations to and capitalize on the strengths enough that Mitchell Robinson could be, putting aside all the health stuff, where Mitchell Robinson could be a major part of a team that wins a championship. I think those are interesting conversations and ones I'm willing to have. For me, I know I'm just a big fan of what a healthy Mitchell Robinson brings. So can I not take the course seriously without a healthy Mitch? I mean, they're not a championship contender without Mitch. That should go without saying. So, thanks, Drew. John Leary, what's going on, John? Miss McBride a lot. Yeah, another. I mean, I mentioned that we didn't have him on the monologue, but yeah, they miss him immensely. You know, does McBride solve the particular problems that plagued them in this game? I thought McBride's loss. I thought they felt that a lot more in Miami. Not that they didn't feel his loss tonight, like for sure. Like we went through, the bench is just thin. If you have McBride, do you have to play Josh Hart, as many minutes? It's tough because, like, you're really small, especially without Yabusele. I don't know. I mean, you get another defender in there, obviously. But again, I thought the perimeter defense was pretty good tonight. Anyway, would like more impact from Hart. Have to wonder how much the grade 2 quad injury is holding back Towns. Maybe it is. But it's funny how that works out. Jalen Brunson, there could be reports that his leg was amputated. And if he's up at a press conference and he played in the basketball game, and people asked him like, "Oh, how you dealing with the whole one leg thing?" He'd be like, "It's fine." Wouldn't say a blessed thing. And who told us again that Karl-Anthony Towns has a grade 2 quad injury? Oh, that's right. Karl-Anthony Towns. Thanks, John. Robert Cross. How you doing, Robert? Sorry, you're already in tough. I'm sure you're already in tough shape here, 4 games in. First time, long time. It's your boy, John. Can you write a newsletter article about all the fucking channels the Knicks are on and how I can access them? I mean, you just got to get a bunch of streamers. You got to get. I mean, tonight, I think the game was on NBC. You didn't, if you have cable or even probably have some rabbit ear antennas, whatever, you probably could have watched tonight. Thanks, Robert. Zoo, OG shooting slump is back. I mean, it's 2 games. I don't know that I'm prepared to say that. The guy was pretty good in the first couple. Cat looks as disengaged and disinterested as ever. Third quarter of doom. Who has it worse than us? Shake my head. Long season. Let's go Knicks. Yeah, I mean, look, the Knicks will be fine. They have a lot of talent. I think the Bucks. The Bucks are a really good team. They are. The Bucks are they're not a really good team. They're a good team. Let's say they're a good team. Tonight in the second half, they played like a really good team. And they have the player this far this year that's the best player in the sport. So, the Knicks will be fine. Cat looks as disengaged and disinterested. I don't know. Again, I always go back, and for anybody think this is the first time I bring any of this shit up, I was talking about this in the preseason. To be very clear, preseason, and before the press conference. By the way, how bought in is Cat? It's great question to have to ask about your highest paid player and the guy that you desperately need to step up in a big way. Thanks, Hush. Haitian Ferg. What's going on, Haitian? Why is Cat operating in less space than last year? It's a fair question. Also, third straight game with the second half adjustment slowing down our offense. Is it too early or is it a trend? Nah, look, again, they're getting used to this stuff. You hope that all of this stuff and you trust that all of this stuff will get better in time. I believe all of this stuff will get better with time. I believe everything Mike Brown's selling. I think the vast majority of the players believe everything Mike Brown is selling. And boy, would it be a shame if the lack of buy-in from one very important figure was the thing that held them back. Wouldn't that be a shame? And I hope that's not the case. As far as Cat operating in less space than last year, I don't know. I mean, he definitely had space to post up. It wasn't happening anywhere. Again, and I'll go back to DJ. He said, "Why didn't we see Cat used in that face-up position at the top of the arc? Was it just because like Hart was in the game with him for 16 minutes? It's probably part of it, but I don't know if that's the whole thing." Thanks, Haitian. All right, we got 3 straight from the one and only Robert Cross. First time, long time. It's your boy John. Has anyone figured out why Hart is not opting for surgery? What the hell? FTLOG. No idea, Mark? I don't know. Robert, that's a new anagram for you, and I don't know what it is. I would guess it's because it would have him miss most of the season, if not like the vast majority of the season. That would be my guess. I don't know that for a fact, but that would be my guess. If you were telling me that Hart could get the finger surgery and he'd be out for 6 weeks and he wasn't getting it, then I would say that that's a pretty irresponsible decision by Hart, but I don't know that to be the case, and I don't assume that. Oh, for the love of God. There you go. Good job, Mark. I wouldn't have gotten that. Okay, next up from Robert. First time, long time. It's your boy John. Your reminder that Deuce and Mitch are 2 of the best, most important Knicks players. You don't have to remind me, Robert. You don't have to remind me. And if this is what Hart is, I mean, I'm trying to think if this is even controversial. If this is what, and look, maybe here's the thing. It's not just the finger, it's the back too. But like, let me say this. In his present condition, okay? In his present condition, Deuce McBride is unquestionably a more valuable and helpful player to the Knicks, and it's not close. Now, I know there are people out there yelling and screaming like, you moron. Even when Hart's at his best, he's not as helpful a player as Deuce. I think that's more of a conversation. I think when Josh Hart is right, he could be an immensely helpful player despite his drawbacks, even though Deuce does not really have any like glaring issues on paper that like hold him back from being a helpful player at either end. I still think that's a longer conversation. Right now, though, Deuce and Mitch are 2 of their top 6 guys, certainly. I'm sure if you ask everybody out there to rank their top 6 Knicks in terms of like who do you trust most, who do you value the most, I'm sure we get some interesting rankings. Thanks, Robert. Last one from Rob. First time, long time. It's your boy John. I was agitated from the tip with Peacock. Something about. No, I'm not gonna go there. I don't want another long season. Last year was a long season. Mark knows where I'm going there. I don't want another long season. Last year was a long season. I mean, there were ESPN fucking videos being put out, video essays being put out about how this is the next year. First, this is their year to make it back to the finals. Finally, the expectations were set. Once the expectations were set, every time they lose a game from here on in, and it's not, or maybe not every time, 85% of the losses from here on in, you're going to get a tone that is similar to the tone that is tonight. And I just hope that the thing with last year was like, it felt like we stopped appreciating the wins and enjoying the wins, which that's the part that I don't want to happen. Like, I'm still excited about the offense and the growth of this team and everything that Brown's offense can do for them. And we should all be excited about that and enjoy all of the wins that come. And there will be a ton of wins that come. And no, there shouldn't be this amount of hand-wringing about a loss. But look, when you're a contender, this is what happens. Thanks, Robert. I am AK Legend. What's going on, man? Cat's been looking lost 3 out of the 4 games. Please find out where you fit in the flow of this offense. Jalen, rest up. Still positive vibes from me. Let's go Knicks. I hope the vibes are good in the locker room. Mike Brown, big part of what he is bringing to the table is the vibes part of it, right? I like, this is absolutely his first test. Like, without quite, like, if you don't think something is up with Cat, then we're watching different basketball games. Something is up with this player, and Brown has to figure out a way to deal with this and handle this, because right now he's got a guy that is shooting 40% from the field, and he's shooting 39% from three, which sounds really good, but that 4 for 6 in Boston is doing a lot of heavy lifting there. Took 3 threes tonight, didn't make a single one. All that Cat passing we were talking about, his assist numbers: 2, 3, 2, 1. Turnover numbers: 3, 5, 3, 3. Thanks, IMAK Legend. Huzzoo, why didn't Hart get the surgery? Look, it feels like we're going to be asking that for as long as it doesn't feel like he could shoot the basketball. I'm not going to have a better answer for you until he tells it to somebody in the press. I would just love for the Knicks, or for someone, to be able to find out what the injury is, so we would be able to kind of approximate what the recovery is. But you know what? Why don't we do this? At some point, I got to get a doctor on here. Maybe we'll do a live show during the day with a doctor who knows something about, I don't know, fingers. And we'll see if we can answer this question. Thanks so much. Gabe Bain, what's going on, Gabe? Cat and Josh were awful, but why did we stop running the offense in the second half? The Bucks had a lot to do with that, I think. Bucks had a lot to do with that. I think that's the biggest reason, but that's the biggest reason. And I don't like, the Knicks got hit in the mouth, and then they kind of disintegrated, and missed some open shots. Verdict is still out on Mike Brown's in-game adjustments, hoping this is experimentation. Yeah, look, I'm not about to sit here and question Mike Brown after 4 games. Mike Brown's a good coach. There are issues here, which we knew were going to be issues, or we should have known were going to be issues. Like, I couldn't help, and again, this is nothing against Mike Brown, and I'm not about to say that we should have kept the last head coach, because I don't think we should have. All you need to do to prove that is look at Mikal Bridges. Look at how Mikal Bridges is playing. If all other things aside, putting literally everything else aside, not counting anything else, not any of the other stuff Mike Brown's bringing to the table, and he's bringing a lot of other positives to the table, based on how Mikal Bridges is playing alone, that was enough. And it doesn't matter what the reason was, whether Mikal Bridges just didn't like Tibbs as a person, or was being held back by Tibbs, the coach. It doesn't even matter. The fact that we're getting this version of Mikal Bridges after you traded 5 first-round picks for the guy, that's justification enough for moving on from the coach. So what I'm about to say has nothing to do with that. But the notion that all the issues that plagued this offense from January 1st until the end of the year last season were all because Tibbs is not creative offensively, I had to laugh. Were there issues? Yeah, absolutely. Tibbs is not the most creative offensive coach. But within that construct, there are very real fundamental basketball issues here, and it's not all about Josh Hart not being able to shoot. It is about the personnel, and I hate keep bringing it back to Towns, but why do we keep asking the same fucking questions? You're 10 of these questions about why can't we unlock this magical offensive player. Maybe the next coach will figure it out. Thanks, Gabe. Harris Kaiserman, what's going on, Harris? Love the way the ball moved in the first half. Second half, not so much. Yeah. Cat played embarrassingly bad. That's a tough beat. That's Kuzma locking you, bro. Brown has things to look at. Yeah, he does, but it is very apparent. Maybe it's me. Maybe I'm missing something, because all I heard from Mike Brown in the preseason was how he was going to utilize his bigs in all these different ways, and he was going to give them added responsibilities, and bring a lot of the stuff that he, from Sacramento and the whole thing. And Cat's a unique offensive player, this, that, and the other thing. And now we got this game tonight. So what do you think happened? Do we really think that Mike Brown abandoned all that shit that he was saying? That he just threw it by the wayside? It was like, you know what? That was a lot of bullshit. I didn't believe any of it. Or do we think that maybe Mike Brown's plan of attack and how to use this player has been met with some modicum of resistance? What makes more sense to you? The guy that's been a frustrating offensive player for a decade, maybe not being fully bought in after he said, by the way, literally said the words when asked, what do you think this offense could do for you? Response was, I don't know. We think that's the case? Or that Mike Brown is just full of shit? Come on. Thanks, Harris. Joseph Milio, what's going on, Joseph? Hold on, gonna go bleach my eyes after that Cat performance. Worst game is a Knicks, still early, not worried. Regroup for Friday. Clearly missed Deuce. Is it his worst game as a Knicks? Doesn't feel like it to me. But that's me. Thanks, Joseph. Hazoo, pipe dream, but man, imagine 11 and 34 together. Lots of time for that conversation this summer if they don't win a championship. And then maybe you won't have to imagine it. Thanks, Hush. Norma Jean. What's going on, Norma Jean? They're trying to mimic Boston's offense, but can't shoot the three like Boston, especially without McBride. Mitch sitting because his girlfriend broke up with him. Unprofessional. I don't think that is why Mitchell Robinson is sitting. Listen, who the hell knows? It's a crazy world out there. Mike Brown gave a lengthy opening statement after the loss to the Bucks. I can't wait to listen to this. Mike Brown does give some lengthy stuff. What's this? This is from SNY. Shout out to SNY, where I'm going to be part of the postgame Friday and on Sunday. I promise you, this is Mike Brown. I promise you, if we do the things that we're talking about offensively in terms of our staples, Cat is going to be more than fine. We got to play with a little bit of pace, all of us individually. I've talked to Cat about it. Well, I'm sure I'd like to hear that because I'm sure the context is going to be is notable. And then this was part of his opening statement. We have to try to figure out how we can play within our staples on both ends of the floor for 48 minutes. If we do, we have a chance to be a really good team. If we don't, we could get beat by anyone. And now here's Karl-Anthony Towns was asked about adjusting to the offense. Oh, this is great. I got to do whatever is needed to win. I pressed a little bit too much today in the second half. I didn't do what we needed to do to win tonight. That's on me, and I take full responsibility for that. Well, that's okay. That's nice. But when he says, I gotta listen to this. When he says, I gotta do whatever is needed to win, in his mind, is he saying like, I gotta make those shots that I did when I posted up Kyle Kuzma? Like that's, or is he like, is he acknowledging I gotta do whatever is needed to win, including playing in a way that I maybe am not totally on board with and not totally comfortable with? So again, it's one of those things you wonder, what's going through his head. As far as them trying to mimic Boston's offense, but they can't shoot the three like Boston. Rome wasn't built in a day. They are also in a shooting slump. I think this is a good 3-point shooting team. I'm going to continue to say that I think this is a good 3-point shooting team. So it's going to be a while before you to be like, you know what? They're not a good enough 3-point shooting team to be shooting, 40 plus threes. Another one from Norma Jean. And then, yes, Mark, we will go to that. Hart is useless around the arc. Frustrating to watch. It was painful every time the offensive possession. And it was crazy because you were watching those possessions that ended in those Hart threes. And you're like, ooh, this is good. It's good ball movement. Kick. And then it ends with Hart. And it's like, It's deflating. He made one. That's something. He made one, but 1 for 4 every game is not going to cut it. Okay. Quick break, everybody, to tell you about our good friends from, you know who it is, Cornbread. Shout out to Cornbread. Life's been a little crazy lately. Man, I first started feeling sick a week ago, and I'm still feeling this way. I really hope tomorrow I could put the hell behind me, because I am ready to start feeling better. Anyway, if you've been looking for a natural way to relieve, aches and discomfort, the CBD gummies from Cornbread Hemp are formulated to work with your body and not against it. They use only the best. I haven't said this in a while. They use only the best part of the hemp plant, the flower, for the purest and most potent CBD. I think we could all use a little potent CBD after this game. Maybe Cat should take some potent CBD. How about that? Maybe that's that's the answer. Right now, Knicks Film School listeners can save 30% on their first order. Just head to cornbreadhemp.com/KFS and use code KFS at checkout. That's cornbread.com/KFS and use code KFS at checkout. I'm trying to decide if I want to pay attention to any of the Giannis quotes. Yeah. Nothing. Look, Giannis. I gave Giannis some shit for I've given him some shit for the wandering eye of the last few years. Dude's a hell of a player. Really good. Okay. Let's finish up. Jason M. Takeaways. Cat. WTF. Hart doesn't fit. Offense generates threes, but he can't make them. The game shifted when Brunson got hurt. Still like the overall process. Yeah, if Brunson we should point that out. If Brunson doesn't get hurt, I bet you the Knicks find a way to win this game. He was not himself afterwards. It was very clear that he was not himself afterwards. And just the momentum of him getting hurt. You felt it. You felt it in the moment. You felt it with he had 2 plays immediately after the injury where one was an air ball 3 and then was a turnover. So, they cut it to 4, but whatever. Hart doesn't fit. Jason, look, we've had a lot of conversations about Josh Hart over the years. If you give me the guy from a year ago, that guy fits. That guy, I think fits off the bench. Let me be very clear about that. I want to see Josh Hart continue to come off the bench, but I think there is absolutely a version of Josh Hart that can help this team win basketball games in 20 to 25 minutes a night. And and again, I say that because I've seen it before. I've seen it. I've seen it with all kinds of different combinations. I have seen Josh Hart help the Knicks win basketball games when he was on the floor with 1.5 floor spacers. The guy's a winning player when he's going right. He's not right now. Thanks, Jason. Will Oliver, what's going on, Will? 1 game, long season, but my God, that was brutal. It was tough to watch in the second half. It was tough to watch because, you felt them, again, I felt them not let go of the rope, but not put their foot on the Bucks' necks at the end of the second quarter. And then they came out in the third, and it was instantaneous. 0-6 from the field right off the bat. The first, the defensive intensity was not there. Now, they came out of the timeout, and they responded out of the timeout. Landry Shamet hit some big threes back-to-back. Shit, if it wasn't for those threes, they might have gotten blown out. But then the offense just kept stalling. The offense never really got going. And then when Brunson left the game, then it got really painful. And then Brunson gets hurt. It's just, there was not a lot to root for in the second half. There just wasn't. It was a brief moment in the fourth where I think they took the lead. With a Mikal Bridges and 1. Yeah. Dig, steal, and 1. They were up by 2. Yeah, that was about it. Thanks, Will. Kyle G, what's going on, Kyle? I'm giving it 15 to 20 games before I hit the panic button. Do you have a number? I don't. It's a tough question for me to answer. Part of me, my answer was like, I don't think I'll ever hit the panic button because I feel like I had a good idea of this team coming into the year. I had a good idea of what the pitfalls might be. I've seen nothing to dissuade me from my those initial thoughts. I did not think Mike Brown was bringing a magic wand with him. So like all of my misgivings have been well documented. So for me to hit the panic button, for me, that would be like, I'm seeing something that I did not anticipate. I guess, like, here's the thing. And again, this is part of the growth process, right? Thibodeau, for better or worse, always met players. Let me rephrase that. He always met stars where they were. What do I mean by that? Because Tibbs not dumb man, despite what many accuse him of being. And he knows you only win with stars, which is why for however long Julius Randle was here, the same rules for defense that applied to everybody else on the roster did not apply to Julius Randle. That was a concession. That was Tibbs meeting Julius where he was. And same thing with like the turnovers, and like Tibbs never benched him after turnovers because it's like, look, you got to let Julius be Julius. Tibbs had coached Cat before. He knew what he was getting when they traded for Cat. And he inherited Cat last year. And it was only until the Hart, the team started guarding Hart with their center and a wing on Cat that they started to run into issues. You want to say that, well, Tibbs never changed that lineup, so he really wasn't meeting Cat where he was? Sure, but at the same time, Cat still produced really well, like for the entirety of last season, because I think Tibbs knew how to, or not knew how, knew what he wanted to do. Tibbs knew how Karl-Anthony Towns wanted to play on the offensive end of the floor. And he was never going to try to change that. That wasn't Tibbs' MO. He's like, Brunson, go be Brunson. Cat, go be Cat. And everybody else, fall the fucking line. And a lot of other guys may not have liked that. Because it diminished their responsibility. Mike Brown is clearly going out about things a different way. So why am I saying all of this? I'm saying all of this because when you're asking me about panic buttons, I think the only way this season can go really sideways is if there is like an irresistible, immovable object and an unstoppable force. If like Brown's not willing to give in and there is resistance from, certain places on the roster, well, then what happens? What does that look like? Does that bring down the whole team? Does that bring down the whole locker room? Like, I don't know. But you never had to worry about that stuff previously. Now, you could also say that the previous way of doing things and the previous mentality put a cap on their success and it lowered their ceiling. And I begrudgingly was at least willing to acknowledge those points by the end of last year. And that was hard for me, but I did. And I'm not going to back off that now. And I do think Brown pushing them in this direction is good for them and good for Cat. But there has to be buy-in. There has to be buy-in. If you don't have buy-in across the roster, this is not going anywhere. It's just not. Thanks, Kyle. Ulysses Gonzalez. Cat got Tom fired twice. Again, it wasn't Cat. I'm telling you, it wasn't Cat. I don't like that. That was always. I don't know where that came from. That was never reported. I don't think that's the truth. I think he was the cause of some of the issues. I don't think that's the case. I just don't. Thanks, Ulysses. There was a lot of It's a lot of bad shit between the front office. Not the front office. It's a lot of bad shit between a lot of people in the organization and Tibbs, you know? And at the end of the day, he just didn't have enough defenders left, or defenders who were willing to step up to the plate. But, yeah. Anyway. Oh, Mark's saying, do you think he means by his play, though? No. No. I mean, no. Equals peace. Hart had 3 sprays for 3 in that fourth quarter. Brown's philosophy, yes, I cannot stand this coach. Oh, come on. That's unfair. Give Brown a chance. He deserves a chance. He deserves at the very least, he deserves the whole season. You know? I don't know. I think Brown's doing a really nice job so far. You know, Hart, his shooting issues are that he has to deal with those. Thanks, equals peace. Nick Head. Progress is not linear. Don't let the highs get too high or the lows get too low. Hashtag let's go Knicks. Having said that, when do we trade Cat? Well, so, man, I can't. We really have to Cat trade. You can't trade Cat is the short answer. You know, he makes too much money. Here's the issue. Cat was extension eligible this past summer. We did not hear became extension eligible this past summer. We did not hear word one. Not word one about any discussions or anything that took place between those sides. He is eligible to sign a 2-year, $150 million extension on top of his current contract. As of now, Karl-Anthony Towns he is on this year of his contract, and then he has 2 more years left, the last year of which is a player option. I'm just going to double check that I didn't get that wrong. I'm 99% that I did not get it wrong. Yeah, it's this year, and then it's next year for 57, and then a $61 million player option, which of course he can decline. So essentially, this summer, Cat is walking into, if he wants it to be, his walk year. Much like Julius Randle, when the Knicks traded him, was walking into what could be his walk year. The Knicks did not want to deal with that situation. We've heard myriad reporting that there was never any real substantive discussions between the Knicks and Julius Randle and about an extension. And they certainly wanted to be, it seems, out of the Julius Randle business, not because they hated Julius Randle as a player, but like I think in part because they feared what was coming in terms of whether we're going to like watch this guy walk or we're going to have to overpay this guy. Ironically enough, Minnesota ended up getting him on a pretty good deal for what he brings. And boy, was Julius Randle awesome last night. He's been awesome so far this season. With Towns, it's even trickier because unlike Julius Randle, Julius Randle's made a couple All-NBA teams. Yeah, Julius Randle's made 3 All-Star teams. But he knows it, is not viewed the same way around the league as Karl-Anthony Towns. Karl-Anthony Towns, like, now maybe you want to tell me we're entering a different era in the NBA where now all of a sudden certain caliber of players don't just get to walk into the front office and say, all right, where's my max? You know, Trae Young is going to be the first test of that, or he kind of already has been the first test of that because clearly he wanted the max and clearly the Hawks were not willing to offer him the max this past summer, which is why those 2 sides did not sign an extension. Now, they will be able to sign an extension at any point during this year. So that situation is not at DEFCON 1 yet. We'll see what happens if it gets to the summertime. The notion that Karl-Anthony Towns, knowing what we know about him, is going to be willing to play ball to the extent that I think the Knicks would want him to play ball in terms of taking less money on an extension. I have my own personal suspicions about that. So then it's like, all right, well, what do? You trade him? Great. For who? Where? Who wants him? Do yourself a favor, Nick Ed. I know you didn't mean for this to become a whole thing, and I'm spending way too much time on this, and I apologize. I want everybody out there watching right now to go pull up the NBA standings and go all the way up and down the list of every single team in the league and go find me the trade for Karl-Anthony Towns that makes sense for all parties. Where everybody's like, yeah, that makes sense for me. That makes sense for you. Where Towns is going to be like, yeah, gung-ho. Although Towns doesn't really have a saying it. He doesn't have no trade clause. Where's the trade? Go find me the trade because I got news for you guys. I've looked for trades just because I have nothing better to do a lot of the time. There ain't many great ones out there. Which is why I think if the Knicks don't win it all this year, and if they do win it all, this problem goes away because then you just won the title and you bring back the whole team. But if they don't win it all and you are not sold on having Karl-Anthony Towns make $250 million over the next 4 years for your franchise, well, then it's like, all right, well, what do you do? And maybe there will be a Giannis trade that is a possibility. But if it is not, that could be a tough situation. Which is why, if in case anybody needed any more emphasis, this is the most important Knicks season of season of Knicks basketball in at least 30 years. And it's not close. Thanks, Nickhead. Uptown Hoodie, what's going on, Uptown? Shamet is somehow a key to our offense. Shake my head. They're down some guys right now. It's tough, but they're down some guys. I did not have a real big problem with Shamet tonight. I thought Shamet was fine. Made 4 or 9 from 3, and he played good defense. Should they be relying on him as much as they are? I don't know, but that is the situation right now. But again, you're down 3 rotation players. So you're down 3 rotation players. I don't know what else to say. And you're kind of down a 4th because Josh Hart is not Josh Hart. Thanks, Uptown Hoodie. Brandon Guest. What's going on, Brandon? We're playing like we already clinched the East. I don't think that's what this was. I don't think they're getting ahead of themselves or anything. I don't see any grit or edge. Injuries are one thing, but we looked lax, like Brown is the substitute teacher. I don't know. We must have been watching different games, Brandon. I thought, yeah, did they lack a little bit of urgency coming out in the third quarter? Sure. I thought they mostly corrected that after the timeout, which, like, look, they're not. That happens around the league. I wasn't like, there weren't alarm bells going off for me at the start of that third quarter. Like, how dare they come out with this lack of seriousness? I just thought the offense got stodgy, but defensively, I thought they competed tonight. Wasn't perfect, but they competed. So, thanks, Brandon. Alan D, what's going on, Alan? This team will never win a title. Well, don't say that. Randall here 4 years, not once complained about Tibbs. Crybaby Bridges, loser cat here 1 year and Tibbs gone. Tibbs and hashtag 30. Look, we're gonna be all night if we go down this road, and it's my fault. I opened the door larger than I probably should have. Here's what I don't want. I don't want this year to be a referendum on Tibbs. I don't want this year to be did we make a mistake or any of that? Like, they moved on. There were enough people in the organization who wanted to move on. The organization of what you saw last year, was it very different from the way the team was maybe even a year prior? Yes, but you know what? Here's the reality of the situation, Alan, and it's unfortunate. And I get a little part of me cries inside every time I think about this. But the day that Isaiah Hartenstein, the day that Oklahoma City said, we are going to pay this man 25% more than what we think we need to pay him for him to come here, because that's what they did. The day they made that internal decision, the Knick team that it sounds like you loved, and I God knows I loved, that team was done. Because that team didn't exist anymore without Isaiah Hartenstein. It didn't. And Mitchell Robinson has played 17 regular season games out of the last 86. So You want to tell me there was some other way they could have gone, some other stopgap center or whatever? No, that team, the day that happened, that team was done. And they did what they needed to do. For what it's worth, I was really critical of Bridges last year at times. I'm happy Mikal Bridges is a member of this team. I really am. And I say that with the picks in mind, or like acknowledging the picks, or like, I am happy he's a member of this team, even given what we gave up for him. I like Mikal Bridges. I think he's part of the solution. It was not a good match with Tibbs. Shit happens. Thanks, Alan. Jason M. With another one. Brown is right. In the first half, Cat's positioning and decision-making was good. The offense used his gravity well, but he was terrible in the second half. Yeah, I mean, it was certainly better. But also the Bucks kind of came out with greater intensity. But that can't be, you can't be like, all right, well, the other team was intense, so we folded. It's fine. No, that's not okay. You got to figure it out. Thanks, Jason. Anthony with another one. What's going on, Anthony? Enjoying Brown exploring different lineups and leaving them out there to fight through adversity. Me too. Watching Kolek figure things out in real time has been fun. Yeah, I'm look, through 4 games of Kolek, I'm more encouraged than I thought I would have been. He didn't get it again. He did not get a rookie year. And he could have very easily gotten one. And he didn't. That was the decision that was made. Because every win was valuable. And I loved that mentality. Every minute of every game mattered. But the kid didn't get a rookie year, and now he's kind of a rookie. So, but it's been, I've enjoyed the Kolek experience for the most part. Thanks, Anthony. Here's another one from Equals Peace. Mikal is, I'm not reading that word. Never seen a player complain to the coach about minutes. He played 39 minutes tonight. Can't make it up. I don't think the minutes were his issue. Like, they weren't. The minutes were not his issue. I know he came out and said we're playing a lot of minutes. I know that. I said it that day. Literally, go back and look at what I said that day. I think he went and said what he said because he knew that was the thing that was going to make the rounds. And he knew there were certain things he said it was going to get under Thibodeau's skin. That's why I think he said what he said. Ja, what's going on, Ja? Long time no here. What's going on, man? Agree with everything said about Hart, but if he can't finish the game over Shamet, then he better get that surgery. Well, there was a lot of things said about Hart. There was some bad things said about Hart, and there were some good things that I said about Hart, and some bad things I said about Hart. Again, we don't know. We don't have enough information about what the surgery would entail, how long he'd be out to safe to like definitively he should go get the surgery. I don't know. I mean, if this is where we're at in 20 games, then it sure is going to feel like he should have gotten the surgery. And maybe by that point, you want to tell me, well, now it's impeding on his playoff availability or whatever. I don't feel comfortable talking about something that I'm so out of my depth in terms of like this, a medical thing, but it cannot continue like this. If it continues like this, he is not a helpful player to them in the role that they need him to be. He's just not. Thanks, Joe. Kevin, I love you. I'm gay, attracted to men, and happy Mikal Bridges is on my team. I am also happy Mikal Bridges is on my team. And I love you, Kev. You're the man. Jay Will, what's going on, Jay Will? The point guard and coach hold some responsibility for how Cat plays. He needs plays intentionally run for him. I don't blame him. We know what he is. Yes, everybody holds some responsibility. I didn't mean to suggest before that it's all on Cat. It's not all on Cat. But the constant of we need to figure him out. We need to figure him out. We need to figure him out. How many other players with his resume do you need to say that? Do you say that about? Yeah, I mean, to some extent, like Giannis. Put spacing around Giannis. Put shooters around Giannis. Okay. That's great. That's fair. You want to tell me in the same vein that Cat needs to have shooters around him at all times? Well, Giannis doesn't have shooters around him at all times, and he doesn't always have great shooters around him. But he makes it work. I'll put it to you this way. Even when Giannis hasn't had shooters around him, he hasn't turned into a pumpkin. You know? And then you go through other all NBA level players. None of them do you have these conversations about to this degree. You want to talk about Trae Young, who is barely an all NBA level player. I mean, he's on offense, but his defense. Well, you got to accommodate him on defense. You got to put great defenders around him. Yeah, you do. But again, it's not like we're not sitting here talking about Karl-Anthony Towns' defense tonight. We're talking about his offense tonight. That's the issue. We again, not blameless. Coach is not blameless. Point guard is not blameless. But let's at least call the thing what it is. Okay? And to your last sentence there, we knew what he is. Yes, we did. Then go write a strongly worded letter to Leon Rose because he took this on. So, thanks, Jay Will. We got another couple from Jay Will. Brunson's next step level is how to get the team going, not just himself. You got to recognize that. Your number 2 needs a shot. He's a point guard after all. 1,000%. I don't know if I wrote this, but I've thought it, and I hope I've said it at some point because we talked a lot between the end of last year and this year. I thought, and this is again why I was in favor of the Brown hire. I think Brunson needed to take a step forward as a playmaker, and I'm sure this is not going to make me very popular. Not as a leader. I don't want to suggest that he's not a great leader. He was voted second best leader in the NBA behind Steph Curry in the preseason bowl. That's not it. But if you see it again, now I feel like I'm talking out of my ass. I was going to ask the question, are there depths? Not depths. That's the wrong word. Are there lengths that Brunson could go to make Cat feel how he needs to feel, or to reach Cat, or anything of that nature that he is not doing? I don't think it is as simple as Brunson has to feed Cat the ball. Are there moments where I have seen passes that Brunson has not made that he could have made? Yeah. And I think about it every time I see it, and I'm like, man, when in doubt, give the guy the ball, show him the faith, So there is more he could be doing. How much more? I don't have a great answer for you, Jay, because we're not in that locker room. Thank you, Jay. And now one more from Jay Will. Appreciate the contributions, man. Oh, no, this is from Frank Miranda. What's up, Mac? It's your boy. Oh, those were the 2 from Jay Will. Got it. Frank Miranda. What's up, Mac? It's your boy, Frank from Patreon. We will regret the Cat trade more than the Bridges trade. Bookmark this. The Cat trade will hurt team chemistry. Well, is this where I'm supposed to mount a full-throated argument against your point, Frank? I'll do what you said. I'll bookmark it. How about that? I'll bookmark this. Mark, do you have it bookmarked? I hope you have it bookmarked. Do I have an actual bookmark around here? I usually have bookmarks lying all around. I have some makeshift bookmarks in my bookshelf, but I don't have an actual bookmark. Thanks, Frank. And now, let me know if this is the last one, Mark. Robert Cross, first time, long time. It's your boy, John. Why does it feel like we are at game 34 with all these issues? Thanks. I'll hang up and listen. No, I mean, I think we should have expected this stuff to be present early. You know? I'm happy that we're having this post game in game 4 as opposed to game 34. If we were having this post game in game 34, then the concern level would be a lot higher. The fact that we're having it at game 4, I think, is, I don't want to say it's encouraging, but you know what? There is a part of me. I'll try to end on a positive note. If we weren't having, like, if Mike Brown came in, so let me work through this. I don't know if I'm going to land the plane, but I'll try. If Mike Brown came in and everything was hunky dory, and everybody was thrilled right from the outset, and there was no issues, would Mike Brown really be coming in and doing his job? Would he really be coming in if nobody was made to be a little uncomfortable and nobody was being put in positions to extend themselves and maybe, again, go into that area of discomfort? Would Mike Brown really be doing his job? Because to suggest that the answer to that question is yes, to me, implies that this is a roster without flaws. And that there was just some simple, easy answer sitting, waiting for us on a silver platter, which trust me, I know there are some people out there that have watched the last 5 years and were like, yes, there was perfect roster. It was all the coach's fault. The answer was right there the whole time. God bless those folks. I am not of that opinion, you know? So with that in mind, and if we have to acknowledge that, like, yeah, there's some real stuff to work through here, then I think there was probably inevitably going to be some of this at the outset. It's the fact that we're having these conversations, like you guys could probably tell, I'm kind of like chill this whole post game. It's not because I don't care about this team or I hope they lose or something. It's because it's game 4. And I don't think that the fact that we're having these conversations on game 4 is a death knell to their goals or their whole season or anything like that. Like, yeah, do I have my doubts about whether Brown or any coach is going to be able to get Towns to a place where he could be the second best player on a title team? I absolutely have those doubts. And I'll continue to have those doubts until I see otherwise. But if that reality does exist, I believe fully that there was going to need to be some hard times at first. Now, how do you respond to adversity? Nobody knows how anybody's going to respond to adversity until you see it, because everybody has a plan until they get hit in the mouth. So, we'll see how they come out of this. They're going to be fine. Brown is going to be fine. Hart's going to be fine. Cat is going to be fine. Like, he'll figure some stuff out. They'll reach, I don't know, some place of mutual compromise, I guess. I don't know. They'll figure it out somehow. But tonight wasn't a great night. There's no other way about it. Tonight wasn't a great night. So that's it for me. I don't have anything else to say right now. You will hear me again on the post-game show on Halloween, which I will say right now is going to be starting a little bit later because I am going to hop on Honda Sports Night for SNY, and we will start the post-game show immediately after that. Shouldn't be too long after the game because it's an 8 o'clock start against the undefeated Chicago Bulls. So, and the Bulls are playing well. They talk about a team that knows what it's doing on both ends. Bulls do. So, and the Bulls always play the Knicks tough. So I'm sure it's going to be a fun game. I will see everybody after that. Fresh episode of NBA Takedown tomorrow at noon. If you're not subscribed to NBA Takedown, go subscribe. And I will see everybody when I see you. Peace out.
Must be 21 or over. Gambling problem? Call 1-800-GAMBLER. Connecticut, call 888-789-7777. Massachusetts, call 800-327-5050. New York, call 877-8-HOPE-NY. Maryland, visit mdgamblinghelp.org. Not available in all states. Terms apply. See Fanatics Sportsbook app.